We've just finished working on graphing quadratic functions, and now this lesson is on graphing quadratic equations. Sorry, that intro was weird. I just ate some vitamin C, and it was really sour. You should probably take some too. People are getting sick. Take some vitamin C, drink some orange juice, and then start the video. So, the solutions to a quadratic equation are the x values when y equals 0. These are also called the roots or the zeros. So, looking at this graph, we see that our zeros are at x equals 1 or at x equals 3. Find those solutions by graphing x squared plus 1 equals 0. Hopefully by now you guys have noticed that if this middle term, or if the equation does not have a middle term, does not have a x term, there's not going to be a b, so we won't need to plug it into our axis of symmetry equation. And we will always start with a 0. Again, that's only if we don't have a plain x term. Otherwise, you need to plug it into negative b over 2a and solve for that. We'll go up 2 and down 2, and then plugging in our equations, 0 squared plus 1 equals 1. 1 squared plus 1 equals 2. 2 squared plus 1. 2 squared is 4 plus 1, which is 5. And then we reflect over. Now, obviously, I had to make a little change when I was graphing. When I was plugging it into the equation, I called it y instead of 0. The reason is that we're going to graph it and try to look for where it crosses 0 in my graph. So let's plot those points. We have negative 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have negative 1 and 2. We have 0 and 1, 1 and 2, and then 2 and 5. And we will draw our graph in here. Now notice, it never ever ever crosses the y-axis. That means that we have no solutions. Sometimes the graph will not cross. It will be no solutions. Sometimes it will cross on 2 different occasions, like our first example, in which case you'll have 2 answers, and sometimes it may only touch once. So you need to look at the graph and see what the situation calls for. Now there is an easier way to solve it, a quicker way, I guess would be the better way. And the way to do this is simply by solving for x. So here I have x squared plus 36. Remember, in order to solve an equation, you do the opposite operation to both sides of our equation. So we have x squared equals 36. And then to undo a square, you're going to take the square root. The interesting thing about square root is that square root means what times what equals whatever's inside the radical. So we need 2 numbers that multiply to be 36. Right off the bat, I know you guys are saying, oh, well, 6 times 6 is 36. But you also need to think about the fact that negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. So we can have 2 possible answers. We can have positive or negative 6 as our answer. Let's go ahead and try the one to the right. Same type of thing. We're going to add 16 to both sides. We get 4x squared equals 16. To undo multiplication, we divide by 4, divide by 4. X squared equals 4. And then to undo our squared, we take the square root. So the square root of 4 is 4, but it can also be, square root of 4 is 2, but it could also be negative. So our answer will be x equals positive or negative 2. Sometimes, just like in the graph that we did for our example, you will have no solutions. No solutions occur when it asks you to take the square root of a negative number, because you can never find two numbers that multiply together or that multiply by itself to equal a negative number. So here we would have subtracted by 4 and gotten x squared equals negative 4. There's no number that multiplied by itself equals negative 4. So since it wanted us to take the square root of a negative, there are no solutions. Hopefully that video was short, sweet, to the point, and very helpful. The joke of today, my new favorite, you may have heard it already. I keep saying it a lot after I heard it. But what do you call a security guard for Samsung? The Guardian of the Galaxy.